encourage its members and other Ghanaian foreign service officers and international service professionals to publish their memoirs, publish papers. We're delighted that the president of CFR Ghana has set the ball rolling by having his published. And that's why we're here today, to see it launch. And so in the coming, hopefully, months, but definitely years, we look forward to the launch of a series of similar publications by people who have been down this path. I wish to introduce to you now the chairperson for this afternoon's event, but before I do that, I think it's important that I just introduce the gentlemen who are out here with me at the gardens of the venue. Mr. Anthony Osei is Minister for Monitoring and Evaluation, but even more important than that, he's the author's brother. Mr. Osei Dakwa is a retired ambassador, and he'll be doing the review of the book. I'll skip the chairperson, and then next is Ambassador Cabral de Amir, former ambassador to Sierra Leone and also the Ivory Coast. The most important person for the day, I'll leave his introduction for a bit later on. And so let me come to the chair for the event. Our chair today is Mrs. Agnes Agri-Olens. She's a retired career foreign service officer. In the course of her career spanning more than 36 years, but I must warn you that she was extremely young when she set out as a diplomat. She was very, very young. And she served the Ghana Permanent Mission to the United Nations in New York, the Ghana High Commission in London, the Ghana Embassy to the European communities in Brussels, the Ghana Permanent Mission to the UN in Geneva, and subsequently appointed ambassador to Ethiopia, and of course with concurrent accreditation to the OAU, as it was called back then, and also to Uganda and Tanzania. She was ambassador to the Swiss Confederation with accreditation to the UN offices and specialized agencies and other international organizations in Geneva and Vienna, and also ambassador to Austria and to the Holy See. And little wonder she was decorated by Pope John Paul II, and subsequently by the government of Ghana, which decorated her with the Order of the Volta. These days, she spends her time as a consultant, undertakes assignments for the World Health Organization, the World Intellectual Property Organization, the UNDP, and the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center here in Accra, as well as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, and stops by the Lagos Center for International Affairs and Diplomacy from time to time to help nurture young diplomats. I suspect that her only regret in her career, she hasn't said this to me, but it's my suspicion, that her only regret would be that she didn't get to serve in Kinshasa and Conakry. Ladies and gentlemen, I hand over now to the chair for the afternoon, the evergreen Agnes Agri-Olens.
Thank you, Mr. Sichadu, for that kind introduction. Sometimes I can barely recognize myself, but the grace and generosity of your introduction is most touching. Ladies and gentlemen, I consider it an honor to have been asked to chair the launch of the book Privileged Conversations, Adventures of an African Diplomat. That African diplomat is Ambassador Daniel Osei, the author. Popularly known as DK, he is also, as you already know, the President of the Council on Foreign Relations Ghana, a think tank on Ghana's foreign policy and international relations. Indeed, this is a historic occasion, marking as it does the inaugural book launch in pursuit of the mission of the Council, which is, and I quote, to mobilize the rich and profound pool of Ghanaian experts in international relations, peace and security issues to place their expertise, experience and knowledge at the disposal of government, international organizations, the public, academia, and all who seek to understand better foreign policy issues and choices of our times, unquote. Specifically, this launch fulfills one of the Council's aims and objectives within the framework of its mission, that is, to publish memoirs of retired diplomats and other professionals, books and articles on international issues. It is therefore a privilege for me to extend to you all a warm welcome to this inaugural launch, wherever you are in our global community. The circumstances of this occasion are almost ironic, that a pandemic should cause us to find innovative ways of launching this book with an audience which is far-flung in Ghana and beyond. In Privileged Conversations, Adventures of an African Diplomat, the author, Ambassador D.K. Osei, captures the cross-currents of events and developments, particularly in the West African sub-region, and the indispensable role of diplomacy in crafting solutions. DK joins the increasing number of former Foreign Service officers who record their experience for posterity, and in this way contribute to writing the modern history of our country in terms of its foreign policy and its role, particularly in our sub-region. In Privileged Conversations, Adventures of an African Diplomat, Ghana's relations with some of the countries of our sub-region, and indeed further afield on our continent and beyond, are seen through the tutored lens of the experience of the diplomat, DK. Each vignette is unique and almost extraordinary. We come to appreciate the springboard of the author's dynamism, his lineage, upbringing and education, as well as the qualities which he brings to his task: courage, astuteness, and a nimble mind with a wide network of contacts. We savor his profound sense of duty and the willingness to go beyond the bounds of duty. All this is laced with a sense of humor, and whenever the phrase "on that fateful day" occurs, the reader can be sure that that fateful day would be full of adventure, sometimes hair-raising, recounted in a gripping manner in tune with reality. But above all, Privileged Conversations, Adventures of an African Diplomat, depicts and emphasizes the indispensable role of diplomacy, which, as the foreword to the book states, has been underestimated. The The chairperson of an occasion such as this is always in a delicate position. The chairperson has to set the tone and undertake a balancing act. Say enough to excite the curiosity and indeed fire the imagination of the audience, but at the same time not give too much away. I trust that I have managed this fine balancing act with a modest degree of success. And now I give the floor to the author, the incomparable Ambassador D.K. Osei, President of the Council on Foreign Relations Ghana, to make his remarks. You have the floor, Ambassador.
Madam Chair, you know, it's not very often that I'm speechless. But after listening to you, you've almost drawn me to that border. I want to really take the opportunity to thank you for agreeing to associate yourself with this book launch. I want to thank my friend Kweku Sechiado, who also at short notice agreed to be part of this event. And my friend Ambassador Kwabena Osei Dankwa, who has had to read the book 3 times, and he assures me that each time he enjoys it more. Again, I want to thank my dear friend Ambassador Cabral Diamie, who has responsibility for this launch. Even if it goes wrong, please blame me, don't blame me. And to thank my brother for being here. I was wondering what drew me to write this book. And then I remembered that in the earlier days when I started teaching after I left the presidency at the University of Ghana, at the University of Addis Ababa, at the Ghana Armed Forces Staff College, and at the Kofi Annan Peacekeeping Center, students kept asking me why I had not chronicled major events in my career. And I remember one day, one of the foreign service officers said to me that she had decided that she would come and record my lectures over the next academic year and then convert it into a book. It was then that it occurred to me that perhaps it was about time to put something on paper. And then subsequently, one of the students who later has become a lecturer at the Kofi Annan Peacekeeping Center advised me that if I wanted to chronicle all those events, I would never finish. So I should limit it for now to the West African sub-region. That is the reason why I've limited it to the West African sub-region. I didn't intend that there should be a comprehensive coverage of practice, the numeric practice in the sub-region. It is seen from a very personal perspective. Events in which I personally have the opportunity or the privilege to be part of. Whilst I'm about it, maybe I should take the opportunity to thank my senior colleagues who taught me the arts. Particularly, I remember Ambassador Jimmy Misa, Ambassador Anan Keto, and Ambassador Victor Behu. These were some of the directors who found a way to polish me and help me to become what I later became. In later years, I also worked with Foreign Minister Osei Jimai and Foreign Minister Dr. Obeda Samoa, and of course, our current president. I think I owe it to President Kufuor. I owe a debt of gratitude to President Kufuor because it was the opportunity that he offered me that brought me even closer to the privileged conversations, even though I had the opportunity earlier. So, Madam Chair, really today, as I said earlier, you have almost made me speechless, and I really wish to thank all of you for making this possible. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your remarks. I must say that I'm jolly pleased with myself because I didn't think that I could make you speechless. Almost speechless. Thank you very much for those enlightening
Privileged Conversations, Adventures of an African Diplomat, is gripping, it is riveting, and it is instructive. Its vivid portrayal of events and scenes places you directly in the meeting rooms, the ceremonial roles, and even the jungle, and it leaves you hungry for more until you come to the very last sentence. The stories in the book reflect the personality of the author, his curiosity about life, and his love for life, translated into that great capacity to intrude into human nature and understand it thoroughly, to empathize, to bond, and to generate the friendships, the networks, intelligence, and the savoir-faire that led to his brilliant career and his lessons in the book on how to achieve great diplomatic success. The book is a storehouse of key lessons for effective negotiations and diplomacy and for leadership. It is a must-read for practitioners, historians, international civil servants, government officials, media professionals, students, and indeed those interested in the art of the possible, in achieving goals in a world where emotional intelligence and thinking on your feet can be critical for success, even survival. As a bonus, the book brings us the behind-the-scenes insight into the personalities and statecraft of the leaders of West Africa and elsewhere, spanning the period of Ambassador D.K. Osei's memorable career, starting from 1976. George Parker, the author of Our Man, Richard Holbrooke, and the End of the American Century, has a fascinating first line. Do you mind if we hurry through the early years? He asks. The chair has spoken about Ambassador D.K. Osei's lineage, education, and upbringing. I do mind if we hurry through the early years because, counting myself as a friend, colleague, and mentee, I learned a lot about the fascinating networks, values, and intangibles that the author bent to his will to become who and what he is. The stories of his sporting and athletic triumphs, his irreverence in class, his student politics pursuits and victories alone would make an excellent memoir. Does it have something to do with the dazzling professional in this book? The rare diplomat who started the ambassador that he became, by decay, a beloved human being and an institution. But the book is really not about D.K. Osei, even though his characteristic humor, trademark laughter, nobody laughs like D.K. His self-assurance and his distinct voice infuse every part of the book. The book's main lesson is that having opportunities is helpful for the even more important is creating opportunities for success. He's a master of the latter, and therein lies the most important lesson for diplomats, statesmen, and international civil servants. A number of books on diplomacy and statecraft are churned out every month, especially in the United States. Many of them are interesting but based on leaked sources, gossip, and conjecture. They win awards and sometimes they make international heroes of certain diplomats, including Richard Holbrooke. It doesn't matter that those diplomats only wield a big stake of a superpower and their achievements tend to fizzle out. What the case book does is provide first-hand accounts of the key events and processes that took place in West Africa and about West Africa from 1976 to 2008, in which his own role sometimes took on the scale of legend. His audacity in procuring a helicopter used by President Conte of Guinea for his internal travel and get him to board a Ghana Airways flight to attend the regional meeting on the Liberian crisis is mind-blowing on every level. How he negotiated with the pilot to secure the use of the president's helicopter. How he got to travel on a commercial vehicle transporting goods. How he got the imam of the Man Center Mosque to have some of his men accompany him on the journey after lengthy prayers had been said for his safety. How he survived the return journey through territories of allergic Romans, trigger-happy, suspicious rebel soldiers, drunk or high on all manner of substances, got another set of prayers from the imam, how he delayed the Ghana Airways flight in Conakry to get the delegations to Accra on board is awe-inspiring. It is also a reader on being an effective diplomatic agent. As I read of his diplomatic exploits in the book, I thought of Lawrence of Arabia, not Holbrook. Even though Holbrook has been described as possessing heroic talents, achieving feats of strength, and rising high, he doesn't come near what B.K. Osei has done with his career. And if B.K. was an American diplomat, he would be feted as a global hero. These stories remain untold because the publishing world, including the journalists who cover foreign affairs, are still Western-centric. And we must feel indebted to DK for opening this door to life-shaping and peace-facilitating sustainable development that only diplomacy can make possible. One of the remarkable innovations in the book is the analysis embedded in each section, identifying gaps and mistakes, and proffering ideas on solutions. My favorite analysis relates to the Côte d'Ivoire crisis and the Lina-Marcoussis agreement at Avenue Clabin in Paris in January 2003. The Lina-Marcoussis negotiation took place between the 15th and 23rd of January 2003 and went through Accra 1, Accra 2, Accra 3, as well as other mediation efforts in other parts of the continent. The author's analysis of why the agreement was bound to fail is the most fascinating analysis on negotiations I have read anywhere. Its lessons on effective preparations before any mediation should be required reading for diplomats, international civil servants, and indeed foreign ministers. And I believe the foreign minister is online. Interestingly, while the book is not about politics per se, it gives us insights into the political style of leading political figures in West Africa, Europe, and the USA, including in our own country, Ghana. The meetings between President Ayadima, Hila Lehman, and between him and Jerry Rawlings are fascinating studies in theater. The slaughtering of chicken in the Lomé capital by fetish priests, splashing blood in front of Jerry's motorcade, and holding it up is one of the many intriguing and spellbinding moments captured in the book. It is symbolic of the tensions between the rival regimes of Ghana, Togo, and Côte d'Ivoire, to name a few, for example. It is also, however, evidence of the intricacies of diplomacy and national interest and how they overlap. If you, like me, had no idea how a neighboring leader like Ayadima tried to save a constitutionally elected government in Ghana from a coup, you will find many such tidbits an eye-opener. DK paints a portrait of the leaders almost like an artist. Their conversations and the way they choose to convey messages humanizes them in a natural setting and makes them feel familiar and understandable. You come to feel like the proverbial fly on the wall. Just imagine the records of those meetings for follow-up action. It is a measure of the remarkable skill of the ambassador, decay, that he brings the reader into the sanctum of officialdom, yet successfully maintains discretion and confidentiality. West Africa, in the period captured by the book, was probably the most volatile region in the world, with military coups, murderous rebellions, civil conflict, and underdevelopment. And sometimes we forget. The diplomatic significance of the book lies in the challenging nature of the crises that different actors, West Africans and ECOWAS, France and other Western countries, as well as the UN, sought to address. Finding solutions in this environment or that environment is akin to making miracles. The role of diplomats such as Decay is indispensable to creating the conditions that are critical for restoring human rights and dignity, livelihoods, functioning societies, and sustainable development. For a book whose objective he describes as chronicling experiences that could be of benefit to young Foreign Service officers, its contents are invaluable to successful negotiations and diplomacy at all levels. And I could go on and on, depriving you of the opportunity to read the rest of the story. So I'm going to conclude. And to echo the foreword written by President John Agyekum Kufuor, it is my hope that politicians, policymakers, and international civil servants, researchers, students, and indeed all who are concerned about the seeming inability of our world to change course for the better will read this extraordinary book. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador Osei Dankwa, for that fascinating review of Privileged Conversations, Adventures of an African Diplomat. I am sure that after this review, you cannot wait to read the book. And now it is my pleasure and honor to invite the Honorable Shirley Ayokoboche, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, to launch the book. Minister?
You can't do anything about it. There she is. She's trying to get in.
We crave your indulgence for a moment. We're trying to get the minister on.
We reach a capacity of 100 and the people trying to. So we have to.
One person has to be bumped up.
Subscribed. But technically, it can.
We try and get the minister on, but I'm sure the author could add one or two remarks. He was careful to be quite brief, and it is not like him to be brief, so he has the opportunity to... she's on. Is the minister on? Yeah? May I invite you to launch Privileged Conversations, Adventures of an African Diplomat. I trust you can hear us.
The minister. The video is off.
you like to say?
Whilst we wait for the minister to lock in, I forgot to add that there are other books in the pipeline. This will be the volume 1 of Privileged Conversations. There's a volume 2 which is in preparation. And then there's a textbook which is also started for MA students studying international relations, and mostly as a result of questions and issues raised by former students. Then the intention is to also write a book about 8 years in the office of the president. Now that I've started enjoying writing, these are the plans for book writing in the coming years. So I expect a few more. President Kufuor was right when in the foreword he said that he knowledge about books being prepared for the future. Madam Chair, over to you.
Thank you very much. Minister. Minister, can you hear us? May invite in view. Minister. Please bear with us. Yes, we're going to say a few more words. All right. While we wait for the minister, may I invite Ambassador Osei Dankwa to say a few more words about the review?
Yes.
As part of the review.
Right. So in the book, there's mention of a number of personalities that decay, that belong to the case network, you know, from the son of Mitron to, you know, baronesses in the UK, and the thing that is interesting is just from my own career, especially in New York. I mean, people will come to you when they know you're from Ghana and they say, "Oh, do you know DK?" And then DK will tell me, "Oh, that guy, I was in Congo, DRC with him," you know. But it is the way DK mobilized the networks because essentially they are almost like they become part of a social network. It's not as if he just goes and says, you know, I'm going to get this guy to become my diplomatic partner in France or whatever. But they all become part of his social network. They play tennis, they go out, and when it is important, they come through because you can actually get them to move your diplomatic agenda forward. And I think that is one of the things our diplomats, especially young diplomats, need to understand. You need to cultivate the friendship and understanding of people. And in diplomacy, you know, you can get people to do things sometimes against even the interests of their countries because they respect you, they like you, and they say, okay, you know, we'll just close our eyes to this and get. So I hope that as people read the book, they would appreciate the capacity to build networks. When we're talking about creating opportunities, that is what it means. Is you need to understand what maximizes your options as a diplomat in any given setting. And I have heard so many stories which are not in the book about Guinea or Conakry at the time that the case served there, and it would be called a hardship situation in some places. But obviously, the key thrives in the Elysee Palace as well as, you know, the marketplaces of Conakry. And we can see the results. Clearly, the greatest diplomat that we have produced. And we just feel fortunate to have had the opportunity to work with him and benefit from his insights.
When, yes, indeed, yes. Well, I almost missed in fact missed the opportunity to serve in Guinea as ambassador, and with DK's book, I really feel that I missed a big opportunity.
All right, you got it.
So Mr. Sichado was right in his introduction. I don't know about Kinshasa. That was not on my radar, but at least Guinea had been on my radar, and I will never forget the letter which DK wrote to me about what I would be required to do when I arrived in Guinea. I think I still keep it. I remember when I showed it to my mother, she almost tore her hair out. But
he says you're not going there,
but very interesting. I'm sure you will all wish to purchase the book, and you will all enjoy reading the book. Mr. Sichado.
I was going to say, on the back of the remarks made by Ambassador Osei, with regard to working one's networks as a diplomat. The story of
are you going?
Oh, yeah. She's there. Minister.
Okay.
Minister, may I?
I think the minister is on now, so
the minister is on now.
Step back and let you get on with it, Madam Chair.
Minister, may I invite you to launch Privileged Conversations, Adventures of an African Diplomat, please?
Yeah.
Minister, can you hear us?
Can she hear?
You can. May I invite you to launch Privileged Conversations, Adventures of an African Diplomat?
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me say how honored I am and extremely pleased to join you at today's book launch. I'm honored because of the personal esteem and high regard that I have for the author, and also for the opportunity this event provides me to be in the company of such distinguished persons like yourselves. Equally pleased to be part of this launch because it chronicles the close encounters and personal involvement of Ambassador D.K. Osei in Ghana's rich diplomatic tradition, including the period when he played a sensitive and important role as the secretary to the second president of the Fourth Republic between 2001 and 2008. I say with conviction that Ambassador D.K. Osei is a man whose utility in Ghana's diplomacy and influence in governance is well known by many in this country and abroad, and acknowledged by his peers and collaborators. He is eminently qualified to bring us into the fold of these privileged conversations, and I'd like to commend him for the time and effort that he has invested in producing the Privileged Conversations, a book that provides an insightful and coherent account of some events of major diplomatic significance. And I tell you, I've read the book and I was very happy to have read it because I learned a lot, especially for times like this. In the introductory chapters of this book, the author thoughtfully provides his readers useful information on his eventful early life and some of the fortuitous interest he developed. This background helps us to better understand his personality and the success that he has achieved in his career path. At the same time, I cannot ignore his lifelong exploits, which are captured in the subtitle of the book, Adventures of an African Diplomat. Indeed, shortly after being recruited into the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in September 1976, and on account of his French language skills, the author, then a relatively young Foreign Service officer, found himself included regularly in various delegations that were constituted to engage neighboring to serving the nation with all their hearts and all their minds. I believe the Council on Foreign Relations is also well positioned to draw on the time-honored values and lessons that have been projected in privileged conversations in support of our foreign policy strategies. I happily commend the book Privileged Conversations to each of you. On this note, I declare the book Privileged Conversations duly launched. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for your statement, which reinforces the need for cooperation and diplomacy in crafting the solutions to the challenges, numerous challenges, which our sub-region poses. And of course, the absolute necessity which DK emphasizes in his book for preparation and appropriate training. And I am sure that when the Institute is finally established, this will be one of the must books on the shelves of the library of the Institute. Thank you, Minister, for joining us, and we wish you well. Thank you. I will now invite Mr. Sichiadu to undertake the virtual auction.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Chair. Now, well, on the back of the foreign remarks, it is delightful to hear that an institute, a foreign service institute, is often. That's wonderful. So, hopefully, a few thousands of copies of this book will find its way into the library of the institute. A copy. So, the book is Privileged Conversations, Adventures of an African Diplomat by Ambassador D.K. Osei. Actually, I was wondering about if I had an input to make into the title of the book, I'll play on the word DK. Actually, Madam Chair, it's not DK, it's DK.
Interesting. The chairperson has to learn to pronounce the acronym properly. And I must apologize to DK for not pronouncing the acronym properly before. Thank you.
Excellent. And I think that when you do get a copy of this book, you will find that Ambassador D.K. Osei brings his own personal touch to diplomacy that one can call diplomacy. The D is not for nothing you're named Daniel. Diplomacy. And the story that I began to tell,
yes,
I encourage all of you to get a copy of this book and read about it. It's the story of you being sent by President Kufuor to Mali to see the president of the Republic of Mali. I believe it was Umar Konari. And you arrived on a Wednesday and was due to see him on a Friday afternoon or so, and you bumped into one of the, somebody who belonged in the vast network that you had built over the years in the person of Modibo Sisibuli. Who exactly became a minister, but he was the executive secretary to the president, and he says, of course you're not going to wait in your hotel room in Bamako for 48 hours before you see the president, and within a matter of 30 to 45 minutes, you were in the presence of the president of Mali. Now that's diplomacy. That's what diplomacy does, working the network to deliver results for your superiors. And you'll find many of such stories in this wonderful book. So, D.K. Osei has, author of this and president of CFR GHANA, has autographed 10 very special copies of this book for you. And we're asking you to call this number 055-845-0071. That is 055-845-0071. There are only 10 such copies, special, really, autographed differently by the author, with a very special pen for the special 10 who will dial and make an offer that you do not need to disclose. When you dial this number, it's mobile money number as well, so you can make your payment to the account, which is actually on the screen now, 055-845-0071. So dial very, very quickly and make your offer and contribution to the publication of this book and to the work of the Council on Foreign Relations Ghana, of which Ambassador D.K. Osei is president. So 10 limited copies for you this afternoon. Well, actually, I understand that someone has bought a copy for 1,000 US dollars. 1,000 US dollars. And that individual prefers to remain anonymous. But 1,000 US dollars paid for this book. And hopefully others will do the same very quickly before the 10 copies run out. But of course, you can, even when the 10 copies run out, you can still continue to be generous with the other copies that are available. And so, yeah, I suppose that's all there is for me to say. We're not going to beat you down to pay a specific amount. We leave it entirely to you, and we hope that you will snap it up very quickly. Let me just, before I hand it over to the Madam Chairperson, that even for me, as just a mortal journalist, but with professional, indeed amateur interest in international affairs since I was a teenager, I found this book to be extremely fascinating and picked up a lot of insights and lessons in negotiations, international summitry, statecraft, and of course the personal accounts of Ambassador D.K. Osei himself, extremely gripping accounts in student politics and in Dakar, where he spent a year abroad as a student of French, and of course accounts of his victories and medal-winning exploits as a triple jumper, as a footballer, whose skills I suspect, if it were today, would be competitive with that of Dede Ayew and the rest of them. Cricketer, tennis champ, name the sport, show him the rules, and he'll beat you. So lots of interesting accounts in this book. And so I encourage you to get a copy and read it. It's just 170 pages or so with fantastic, beautiful photographs that DK has chronicled of his time in diplomacy with great people of history from different parts of the world. I encourage you to get a copy. But I'm done, and hopefully all the copies have been sold.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Siciado. And now I think I can make a few closing remarks. Would you like to do your vote of thanks before?
I will do. There's one more announcement that I would make, and then perhaps you can make your closing remarks.
Would you please make your announcement?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So, one of the activities that we do, that the Council of Foreign Relations undertakes, is the Distinguished Guest Lecture Series. Now, one of these Distinguished Guest Lecture Series is coming up on the 25th of September. Details will be put out in the media, but it's in the afternoon, 4:30, at the Accra International Conference Center on the 25th of September. And the guest lecturer is Professor Wole Soyinka. Professor Wole Soyinka, the Nobel Literature Laureate. He will be in Ghana and he'll be giving the lecture. It's for a limited number of people, I think just 100, because we want to be COVID safe, but it will be broadcast on television. A couple of television stations will carry it live, including GTV, but there'll be a limited number of invitations out, and it's a lecture by Professor Wole Soyinka of Nigeria, the Nigerian Nobel Literature Laureate. Madam Chair, I'm done.
Thank you very much, Mr. Siciado. It remains for me to make a few remarks to bring our function to a close. First of all, I have to thank you all for joining us at this book launch, wherever you are located in our global community. I trust that we have sufficiently fired your imagination, and you will really enjoy reading the book. You will come to appreciate what diplomats do, the training that is required, and their indispensable role in crafting solutions to the issues of our times, issues of peace, security, the enhancement of the quality of life, and the pursuit of happiness. You will also come to appreciate what a nimble mind the author has. I don't want to say more, because I don't want you to know so much that you do not then purchase the book. This is the delicate balancing act which a chairperson of such an occasion always has to make. But let me assure you that once you begin, you will not be able to put down the book until you've got to the end. And what is more, you will want to read it over and over again. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Minister, particularly for launching the book. I'm sorry about the little glitch which we had, but such is life. And I hope we have all had a lovely afternoon, lovely evening, and have a good afternoon, good evening, what is left of the evening of the day. Thank you, and goodbye. Yes, Mr. Siciado.
Yes, Madam
Just
Chair.
a few truly final remarks.
Really, what is left for me to say is a big thank you. I will just repeat the announcement of the guest lecture series, the Council of Foreign Relations. Can you put that up again for me, so I can say Exactly. So this is the CFR Ghana Distinguished Guest Lecture by Professor Wole Soyinka. The topic is Afro-Pessimism Against Horizons of Eburi Optimism. Afro-Pessimism Against Horizons of Eburi Optimism. Trust Professor Wole Soyinka to come up with something with a topic you must attend to understand. And that's on September the 25th at 4:30 p.m. GMT at the Accra International Conference Center. Thank you all for joining us, and thank you, Madam Chair, and everyone here, the staff, the technical team that made this possible. We appreciate you. Thank you. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Exactly, it's just right.